Hi, Kiki here, and I am going to give you an overview of our persistence activity called Stevie and the Big Project. In this activity, you kind of build off of the ideas that you learned in the debugging activity. And here you start to get some ideas of frustration and persistence across to your students. It starts with a storybook called Stevie and the Big Project. And in this book, Stevie finds that she's having trouble with something. And she's not used to having trouble with something. So she starts to get very frustrated, and that comes out as anger towards a lot of different things. And one of her classmates understands and notices that she's having these problems and gives her some hints for how she can handle this frustration. And another classmate comes and talks to her about persistence and being persistent and learning how to solve a problem by hanging in there and trying different things, and how in the end frustration can lead to learning. And of course, this story has a happy ending. It is for kindergartners and first graders after all. In this story, they're building what we call a marble run. We don't really talk about that explicitly, but we do have images surrounding that. And that will connect to the debugging activity where the students were supposed to debug their teacher's marble run. After this, as part of the same lesson, students are asked to create their own marble run, and they will hopefully experience the same kind of frustration that Stevie had. This might feel a little mean, but really by giving students this opportunity to feel this frustration in a controlled environment, when they're aware that this activity has built frustration in others, they've seen an example of someone handling their frustration using this activity, and the teacher is there to be kind of a cheerleader, and rather than give them advice on how to create their marble run, instead the teacher will be there to give them advice on how to handle frustration and how to move forward with persistence. So that is the entire point of this lesson, not actually finishing the marble run, which many will, believe it or not, but really it's to give them that experience with the frustration. And so if none of your students are frustrated, or if even a handful of them don't experience it, then that's when the lesson hasn't succeeded. So make sure, even if you look at the lesson plan and you think this is too hard for my students, make sure that you understand that it is supposed to be hard. There is supposed to be failure going on here, and the difficult part of this lesson is actually being the teacher that supports the learning via frustration, rather than trying to get your students to avoid that frustration in the first place. That is going to be crucial to the rest of their programming experiences. And students who have this knowledge, learning, and understanding tend to do better in the more advanced puzzles as they come along later in life. So feel free, because you know your classroom best, feel free to adapt this activity. If you think that it will be better for your students if you provide them with paper towel tubes and cardboard ramps and maybe elements that are pre-built, then you are welcome to do that for your students. If you feel like you want to let them use wooden blocks or Legos or something like that to build their marble runs, by all means go for it. Just make sure that you're not doing that to make them instantly successful, but instead you're doing that to meet them at the level that they are, so that they can have appropriate frustration activities. Okay? That's Stevie and the Big Project, and I hope you try it. I hope you love it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in comments below or tweet me at Kiki versus IT. Happy coding.